Alright, so what's up, y'all? So I wanted to make this video because one of my friends was asking me why sex outside of marriage is a sin, and why does God care? Like, what does it matter? What's the big deal? And so that's why I wanted to make this video. So what is sex like biblically, and also like why should we wait till marriage? Right? Why is that such a big deal? So basically, first of all, like, sex to God, right? I mean, it's a good thing, right? God gave sex, it's a gift. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, but it's for married couples, right? If you're not married, then, I mean, it's not for you, right? You're not supposed to be having sex. And I'll try to explain why, like, so it can make sense. But sex to God, right? It's like marriage, right? Sex is what consummates a marriage. It's like what makes a marriage official. The Bible says in Genesis that, like, when you have sex, right, that the two become one flesh, right? And so this is contrary to how we think of sex today, especially with like hookup culture, how we can just have sex and have one night stands or whatever and just go our separate ways and never see each other, talk to each other again. And the Bible, right, to God, I mean, the Bible says that sex is more, right? Sex is this bond that's happening. It's more than just this physical act, how we think of it, right? It's more than that. That's why you hear about soul ties and these things are real, right? And it's because the Bible says, like, in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, Paul says that, don't you know that when you sleep with a harlot, right, a prostitute, even when you sleep with a prostitute, that you become one flesh with her. Right, so the Bible literally says, like, there's more going on, even on these little one-night stands. It's not just this physical act that you may think, right? There's more going on, right? There's this bond, there's this connection that goes on, that happens. All right, and so what I see today in, like, relationships, one problem I see, girls kind of complain about their boyfriends and how, like, they get afraid that they can just switch up because they've been hurt before. A guy just completely switching up. And so I wanted to mention a Bible story that's kind of similar to this. I think it's 2 Samuel chapter 9. I don't know. It's been a long time since I read it. But the story is it's David, King David, the one that kills Goliath, right? David has kids, right? And this is when he's already king. He has kids with different women. And so he has this son named Amnon. He has a son with a different mother. His name is Absalom, and then he has a daughter. I think they share a mom, Absalom, and her name is Tamar. And so it says that Tamar was beautiful, and it says that Amnon, right, fell in love with her, right, his half sister. It's kind of disgusting, but I mean that's what happened, right? He fell in love with her, and it said that he loved her so much that, like, it made him sick, right? He just wanted her so bad. And so what somebody suggests to Amnon, to do is to act sick and to ask King David, right, their dad, to tell Tamar to take care of him while he's sick. And so what he does it, right, he acts like he's sick. She ends up taking care of him or whatever. And so what he does is he tells everybody, right, at his house, he kicks them all out. And then he rapes Tamar, right? He sleeps with her. And then right after, it says that he hated her. Right, it's like he's like disgusted with her. He as soon as the deed was done, he hates her and he kicks her out. And then she's like, "How are you gonna do this to me? Like, kicking me out is even more of a shameful thing than what you just did to me." Right, but he doesn't care and he kicks her out. And so she ends up running away. And then Absalom finds out and her brother Absalom finds out, ends up killing Amnon. And I mean, first of all, one thing you could take away from this is that, like, there's consequences. But one thing, right, I wanted to, like, mention, or one reason why I wanted to mention this story is because how Amnon reacts, right? If you're a dude, right, when I first read this, I was like, bro, like, aside from the rape thing, right, I'm not talking about that part, but, like, the sleeping with her, and then how he goes from loving her or thinking that he loves her, right, to just being like, ugh, like, he's just disgusted, and he just is like, and he hates her, right? If you're a dude, I'm not saying about the hate part, that's going a little bit far, but I feel like if you're a dude, you know that feeling, right? How when the deed is done, how you can just switch up just like that, right? And this is something that girls don't understand. But if you're a dude, I promise you, right? You know what it is, right? You know this, you know what I'm talking about, right? And girls don't understand that. And when girls are with dudes like today, right, and like they wonder how like they could switch up. One way like to like prevent that is to like not have sex, right? Because also what sex does in relationships like that are when you aren't married, when you haven't made that commitment to get married, it confuses us. It confuses people. I'm talking like both of us, right? It can confuse like the boyfriend and also the girl, right? I hear today like, or I see people who think, right? These couples who think that they like love each other, but they're just attached, right? And that's how like these toxic relationships happen, because there's more going on, right? They think that they love each other because they can't live without each other, right? Because they're connected, right? Because of sex. And they know, but they know like they're not right for each other. Like I know I'm not right for her, and she's not right for me. But I don't want to break up, right? We try to break up, but it's hard. And then that's what you see, like how they have sex, and then like that bond gets strengthened again, and right, and they just get back together. And that's why like makeup sex is a real thing, because it was for people who are married, right? Like it's a gift from God to keep like those married couples together, right? When maybe they're struggling, but then they have sex and like it strengthens their bond. But when you're not married and then you do that, like that's what makeup sex is, and they get close again, and then that's how these toxic relationships start, right? Because they're not in love, but they're just attached to each other. And one thing that I've seen also is with this couple that was breaking up, right? They're going through problems, and what I heard was the dude saying, like, I don't love her. I just don't want to see her with anybody else, right? And they had been having sex. He's like, but I just don't want to see her with anybody else. And I remember she was telling me, man, that's so selfish of him and all that. But like in the Bible, and I'm pretty sure it's 1 Corinthians 7, that Paul says, right? Don't you know, like he says, husbands, you don't have authority over your own body, but you have authority over your wife's body. And in the same way, your wife doesn't have authority over her own body, but she has authority over your body, right? You have authority over each other's body, but not of yourself. And I feel like that's where we get that feeling of ownership of like their bodies from, like, because that's how he was, right? He's like, it's not even that I love her, it's just that like I don't want to see her with anybody else because she's mine, kind of thing, right? And when you've had sex, right, that's what that does. And if you were to do, like, I'm pretty sure girls kind of maybe feel the same way. And that's something like even me in my past, right, I've experienced that. I remember, because I mean, I'm not a virgin. Before I was saved, I wasn't good. And I remember even feeling that ownership too. Like, nah, like she ain't my girlfriend or nothing, but like nah, she mine, right? And it's nothing but those connections that get made because we had sex. Because of sex, that's why you feel that way, and that's not right. Because what you're doing is, first of all, you're kind of like objectifying her, right? I mean, that's what it is, right? And it's these wrong, lustful things. Like, it's just nothing but sin that gets brought out just because you had sex. There's consequences, like upon consequences, to these things that we don't even realize when we have sex. We don't think it's a big deal, but there's so much more going on, right? It's creating these toxic relationships. It's hindering you from finding your true marriage partner. And like, say with me, in my life, man, I find myself struggling even now today, even after I'm saved, because of my past. Like, literally, God has given me a renewed mind and a new heart. Yes. Like, I'm saved and God has forgiven me, yes. But I still struggle because of I have those memories of the things like in the past, and I struggle with sexual temptation today. And especially like the Bible says in or in Songs of Songs or Songs of Solomon, which is like a sexual book, right? It's between a husband and a wife, first of all. But in the last chapter, I think it's chapter 8, it talks about don't awaken love until it's ready. Don't ignite that fire because it cannot be quenched. Right? Because once you ignite that fire, and I'm telling you, like, in this, like, sexual context, I'm telling you, once you have sex, right, it ignites something within you, right, this fire. The Bible even talks about, right, if a man cannot contain, right, like, contain himself, and it's talking about sex, like, it's better to marry than to burn, right, because those lustful passions, it's like a burning, right, it's like this fire. And so, because I've had sex, right, I know what it is. It ignited something in me that wasn't supposed to be ignited until I got married. And now I struggle with sexual temptation just because of my past, right? And that's something that I have to deal with. God has forgiven me, yes, but that's a consequence that I have to face. And it hinders my walk with God today because I'm like, God, I'm pure now, yes, but those thoughts, they still like haunt me, right? It draws me back, right? It tempts me. And also, okay, another thing I wanted to mention was how sex makes those bonds. How I've seen in my life. There's this girl that I know. I became good friends with her because I thought she was just like me. When I met her, she was breaking up with her boyfriend, and they had been together for about a year, and she was showing me texts with her and like her boyfriend. They were breaking up, and she was like, I don't care. Like, and she was showing me his, like, the text, and he was like crying to her how much like he loved her or whatever. And they were virgins, by the way, right? And she was like, I don't care. Like, I thought it was funny. Honestly, I was saved, so don't judge me. I wasn't saved, so don't judge me, right? But I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. I was like, bro, you're just like me. You're emotionless. And then, that's not something to laugh about. I'm sorry. But, she didn't understand like why he was feeling that way, right? And why she wasn't. But, right? So they ended up breaking up, and about a month later, they start having sex. And so they had sex for literally, it was just about a month that they were regularly seeing each other. And I remember after, like, he cut it off, that I never seen her show, like, emotion, anything. But I remember I saw her, like, crying, like, bawling. She came to me, like, just bawling because just that little month of them having sex. After being together for a year, nothing, like, nada. But then just that little month of having sex, just boom, she was just crying. And what's the difference? Right? It wasn't that they spent just that time, so much time together. No, it was just that they had sex and that it built that connection, that bond. And then what he did, like in his head, like to a guy, right? When as a girl, if you just give yourself up just like nothing, right? You lose value in his head, right? And like she probably had so much value. That's why he thought he loved her so much. When she wouldn't like refuse to have sex with him, he thought the world of her. But as soon as like he got it, and then he cuts it off because he kind of reacts like Amnon, like not that he raped or anything, but like that he was just like, all right, I'm done. Like he didn't want any more, and she was just bah, like she was just hurt. And I saw her just bawl, and that's nothing but the consequences of sex, right? Because that's what it does. It brings two together, right? That's why them soul ties, those are so real. And I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to mention. But also like consequences that we don't think about, especially if you want to live a Christian life. One thing that I struggle with right now is I'm not talking about temptation, but as a Christian, I want to make things right now, especially like with the girls that I've done wrong in the past, because I have, right? I wish I could just go and tell them like, man, I'm different now. Like I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry if I ever hurt you or whatever. But I can't, right? And I almost feel like I can't even like, I can't text them or anything because they would probably think like, oh, he's just trying to get back like with me or whatever. Like that's why he's trying to be all sweet, thinking like whatever. They would get the wrong idea, and like they can never. I feel like now that I've done what I did to them, they can't. Or first of all, not that it wasn't like consensual or anything like that. Like it was something that we both did wrong. But thing is, like how I reacted or how I acted, I didn't want the relationship, and that's where there was like a miscommunication in the past and whatever. But I feel like now I can't even minister to them because they wouldn't take me seriously. They'd be like, like, are you for real though? Like they probably wouldn't take me seriously as like a man of God. And that's just like just a little consequence that you may not even consider like if you're a Christian, but that's something that I struggle with. Like it kind of hurts me. Like, man, if I like sometimes I see them struggle, I'm like, man, I wish I could just give them Jesus, but I can't because I know like they wouldn't take me seriously because of just our past. And that's just one little thing. Like there's just so many consequences that we don't even consider, that we can't even like begin to comprehend until like it happens and then you experience them firsthand. But hopefully if you watch this video, right, you'll rethink, right, your relationship, whether you should have sex or not. And if you have, think of sex, like look at it biblically, right, and what the Bible says about sex. And thank you all for watching.